Hello everybody, hope we're all doing well. You'll be able to see me in just a second. Apologies for the late start. No technical problems this time. None whatsoever. I just started late. So sorry about that. But yes, I'm here. And I'm going to switch over screens in just a second. Alrighty, sorry folks, apologies. I am just running late today. There's no special reason. I am just running late, and I do apologize. I have got the laptop kind of working today. It's not very reliable, but it is actually working. So I can see that quite a few people are here already. Sorry to keep you all waiting. Let me just see. Might have to ignore that over there because the text is too tiny. Why is the text so small? I don't know. I can't make the text any bigger, I don't think. Right, okay. So apologies for the late start. Roger Blevins is here. He says you're peeling apples. Cool. Okay. And my good friend Mike Neighbours here. He says thought I'd come out from my shell. Good to see you, Mike. And just Bobby's here as well. Not peeling apples, but stopping in to say hi. Been enjoying my birthday with my lovely wife. Well, a hugely happy birthday to you, my friend. And you say sanded / scraped one side of garage and primed and painted it. Cool. That sounds like fun. Kelly Winters is here. Who else is here? Ken Moss is here. Bobby Booth is here because Bobby is always here. And that's pretty much us. So small crowd this evening, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm absolutely happy with that. This is going to be probably maybe a slightly shorter episode than normal. I have acquired my son's cold, which is great fun. So I'm feeling pretty lousy. So I'm not too tremendously happy about feeling lousy, but I'm here. And it's been an extremely busy day today. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Didn't want to get up this morning. Really felt absolutely rotten, but I had a full day of bass playing at church today, so I'm doing 2 services, so I had to be in very early this morning, and then had a long sort of lunch break, if you like, and then back this evening. And yeah, so I'm running pretty late, so which is why 12:15 and I'm only just here. So what we're going to talk about this week? That's a very good question. Because normally I think about these things and normally I decide what we're going to do. But if I don't know how many of you actually made out to Jonny and mine Songwriting Simplified show on Wednesday, where we talked about arranging strings, which is a really good fun show to do, and I had some cool little mock-ups for that. So this coming Wednesday we're going to be doing arranging horns as a kind of like companion show. Pretty tricky to kind of squeeze everything I know about arranging either strings or horns into the 2 shows, but I wanted to at least give you guys an overview on both of those, and then perhaps in future episodes of either this show or Songwriting Simplified I can go into a little bit more detail. So yeah, so I hope you are able to go and see that. If you didn't see it live, then certainly go check out the replay. It was a good show. Recording Studio 9 is here. That's my good friend Vacha down in Australia. Good to see you, my friend. He says good evening. Well, it's actually midnight here, so technically good morning. But yeah, good evening will do. So since I am feeling pretty lousy and feeling like I just need to probably just go and curl up and die, perhaps we should just get into your questions. And next week, normal service will be resumed. I promise. Last couple of shows have been a little bit chaotic, so I'm sorry about that. Last week we had problems with OBS. OBS is behaving itself. I tested it all day yesterday. I put it through a variety of different scenarios, and it's been behaving itself. And at the moment, it is behaving itself. So Kelly Winter says he's got a question. Just Bob says, "Oh, you're talking to Mike. That's cool." What's a sample of a real rule breaker in a song we may be familiar with? A sample of a real rule breaker. Like rhythm or a rule breaker. To do with rhythm specifically. There's a few. Take 5 probably was one of the first popular pieces of music, really, to be written in 5/4, which is certainly at that time was an unusual time signature for a piece of popular music. That was a good one. Another one would be piano player, great piano player. Called by the name of Dave Brubeck. He is very, very well worth checking out. Brubeck was awesome. I've been to see him a few times, and he has a piece which he called the Unsquare Dance. And that is the issue with the Unsquare Dance. Isn't that it was in an odd time signature, because it kind of isn't. It's more the fact that it used a rhythmic pattern that kind of went across the bar line, and so it made it sound like it was an unusual kind of time signature. That's very cool. A very cool piece of music. Used to play it a lot at university. So there's a couple of examples of where rhythm has been augmented or diminished in order to create a particular effect for a song. Bob says, speaking of songwriting simplified, the melody of instruments that you guys talked about, Herb Alpert's Taste of Honey defines that idea to a T. What do you think? Yeah. I'm not familiar with that song, I have to admit. Can Master Tchaikovsky used a 5/4 waltz? 5/4 waltz. Well, it won't be a waltz if it's in 5/4. But yes, he may well have used 5/4 in his 6th Symphony. I believe he did. Holster Planets makes use of different time signatures as well. Mars the Bringer of War, the first movement is in 5/4. So is Neptune, the final movement. Although you'd never really know it, because there's not really a terrific sense of meter or pulse in Neptune, because there's not very much in the way of rhythmic instruments used. It's very, very contrasting, completely different in terms of contrast between Neptune, the final movement, and Mars, the first movement. First movement is so aggressive and pointed and makes use of ostinato being a repeated figure over and over again. So in the case of Mars, it's that rhythmic figure goes pretty much all the way through the whole movement, whereas Neptune has a very, very kind of different thing. It's kind of it doesn't really have a sense of pulse, quite deliberately. because Neptune is really kind of about a couple of melodic cells. I think the first one is where you have this melodic figure that goes da 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 da. It's in 5/4 again, and it then kind of has an answering phrase to that, which is in the woodwinds and the upper strings. Go check it out. Go check out Holst the Planets and check out the different stylistic approaches that he took for all 9 of those movements. Really, really cool. So Holst the Planets, Gustav Holst. He was a German-English composer. So he was born in Germany, but emigrated to the UK and spent pretty much the larger proportion of his life in England. So yes, so he's well worth checking out. And he had a profound influence upon film composers, you know, as the movie industry kind of had its birth, kind of like orchestrational concepts and styles and techniques that he kind of developed. People like John Williams and James Horner and other film composers like that kind of took a lot of their cues from him, particularly John Williams. John Williams was very, very influenced by Holst. Very well worth kind of like listening to something like the score for E.T. and then comparing that to one of Holst's works. Maybe not necessarily the Planet Suite, but maybe some of his other orchestral works. Just Bob says, I need to check out Taste of Honey. It shows the jumping lyrics you and Jonny used to describe words, creating musical melody with an instrument. Yes, okay, I will do that. I will have a listen. D Entertainment is here. Hey, how you doing, Dee? She asks, do you know who did the orchestral... who did the Oriental strings on Presonus 3? Not really sure what you're talking about there. Oriental strings. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Are you talking about sounds in Presence XT? I'm not 100% sure which ones you're referring to. But yeah, they sampled an awful lot of different instruments, including some decidedly weird ones for Presence XT. And I do wonder whether there will be further developments to Presence XT as time goes on. I'm sure there will. Yeah, we got 19 people here. That's very cool. Now, whilst I'm thinking about it, I'd like to ask you all a question. In fact, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Question number 1. Are you subscribed to my email list? That's question number 1. If the answer to that is yes, then that leads me on to question 2. If the answer is no, don't worry about question 2. Question 2 is, have you been receiving 2 automated emails? One about Songwriting Simplified, which goes out on a Wednesday, and one about tonight's show, which goes out at, I think, at some point on a Sunday. If you are receiving those automated emails, please let me know. And likewise, if you're not receiving them, please let me know. So, just to be sure, have you received an email about tonight's show today at some point? If you are subscribed. If you are not subscribed to my email list, there is a link in the description down below. Go and follow that link and enter your email address there, and you'll get notifications of Songwriter Simplified, and Sunday Night Live, just to remind you that they're on. And also you'll get a whole bunch of other stuff as well. You'll get my compression series to download and keep forever instead of having to try and find those videos on YouTube. And you'll also get the stems for Chanel, one of the songs from my 2016 EP Belonging to Tomorrow, which you can mix yourself. Peace Valley Audio, that's my good friend Mike, says, I haven't opened an email in 2 weeks, but I am subscribed. Good. Awesome. And he says, not just your emails, everybody's. Okay. Yes, I am aware, Mike, that you're taking a wee break at the moment, which is extremely good thing to do. Kelly says, I don't think I've received an email. That's interesting. Are you subscribed, Kelly? And you are subscribed, and you don't think you've received an email. That's interesting, because you should be receiving emails. If you are subscribed to the list, you should be receiving emails. I will have a look and see what's going on there. Might be worth, Kelly, checking if my emails are going to one of your tabs other than your main inbox tab. In your email provider, whatever that is. If your email is a Gmail account, then check whether it's going to a promotion or updates tab or something like that. Or even if it's going to spam. If it's going to spam, just please grab one of the emails from spam and just inform your email provider that I certainly am not spamming you, because that's not my intent at all. If you're using Yahoo, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm not quite sure about Yahoo, but yeah, whatever your email provider is, please just go and kind of make sure that you've got my email set up so that it goes to your main email, your main inbox. That's where it's supposed to go. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes different email providers, they kind of like divvy things up, and you know, emails from email lists that you're subscribed to might end up in a different folder. Ken says, I've been having lots of mails going to my trash folder, and I never said that it was junk. Even when I move them out, they still go back to trash. Okay, that's a good thing for you to go and check out there, Ken. And make sure that my emails are not going to trash. Roger says, no email today. Yeah, the reason why I ask is that I have actually included myself on my email list, which makes sure that I receive whatever you guys get. And I didn't get one either. So that's something for me to go back to MailChimp with, because that's who I used to do my email list. So I will go back and I will explore that a little bit further with MailChimp and make sure that there's not an issue there. Because those two emails are supposed to be automated. They're supposed to every Wednesday and every Sunday go out. So I'm going to look into that. But yeah, that was just something I kind of wanted to just kind of bring to your attention, just in case you are on my list. All right, so let's keep going with your questions. Mike says, I just looked, I haven't gotten any emails from you in 2 weeks. That's interesting. That's a little bit curious. Didi says you sent one to yourself and you didn't get it. Yeah, I subscribe to my own list, which basically makes sure that I get whatever I send out to my list. So that is curious. I will go back to MailChimp and see if I can find out why those emails are not being sent and why you're not getting them. Because certainly the last couple of ones that I've sent out, I did get when I sent them to myself. So you guys should definitely have those. Kelly says, I actually did receive one about 2 hours ago. Oh, awesome. That's something. That's probably the email about tonight's show. Should be. That should be the email that you got was the one about tonight's show. So if that's the case, Kelly, could you open that email and just let me know that that's what that is? That being the case, then I know that it okay, yes. Okay, good. So it is working. I just need to make sure that it's being sent properly. Mike says I'm going all the way back to October 7th. Okay. And Kelly confirms, yes it is. Excellent. Okay, so that does work. It does work. It's just not maybe working quite as well as it should do. Just Bob says, good night, all going to dinner. Just Bob, have a wonderful time. Enjoy your dinner. Have a great birthday, because it's your birthday. I should have played happy birthday for you. Didn't think about that. Sorry. Sorry about that. I didn't think about that. There we go. Bobby Booth says, no mind, just a joke. When you said you get something from everybody. All right, cool. All right, so let's have some more of your questions, and I'm going to wrap this up in probably about 15 minutes because I am absolutely done. I need to go to bed. Dwight L is here. Hang on, let me put this into live chat mode because I'm probably missing some of your posts here. Dwight L says, can you share some tips or techniques on chromatic soloing? Chromatic soloing. Kelly says, if I may speak for your friends and fans, you probably need some rest. It's okay. Well, thank you very much, Kelly. Yeah, I will answer your questions, but I'm not going to stay on for very much longer because I need to go and collapse in a small heap somewhere. But yes, Dwight says, can you share some tips or techniques on chromatic soloing? Chromatic soloing. Well, you need to make it make sense. It's like any other language that you might speak. You need to make it make sense. So even if you are using chromatic notes that don't belong to the scale, to the chord or the scale that you're in at that particular point, the notes that you do use need to be intentional and have a purpose. Sometimes you can play something accidental by mistake that somehow fits. That's the key, is kind of making even something that you don't intend. neighborhoodjams@gmail, add me manually. Okay, Mike, thanks for that. I will do. In fact, I think you're on the automated list, but I'm going to check again. So yes, so you need to make it make sense. Otherwise, all you're doing is just kind of, randomly, hang on. Is this on? Yes, it is on. I'm just not wearing my headphones. And of course, I've got my speakers muted. So yeah, so you kind of want to avoid the. That doesn't make any sense at all. It's just like random, doesn't make any sense and doesn't sound particularly pleasant to listen to. So if you're going to make it intentional, then it needs to kind of, those chromatic notes need to make sense. So let's take just the blues scale to start with. So let's take the blues scale in F. So we would have F, A flat, B flat, C flat, C, E flat, and F. See, that G doesn't belong to the blues scale, but that's okay. Okay, so I put in, a couple of little chromatic descending line there because I was going from the A to the F. So, the G flat there doesn't belong to the F blues scale. So kind of I'm using those passing notes as those chromatic tones as passing notes. They're little stepping stones on the way to going from there to there. Or I might do something like this. And again, those kind of little, you know, they're kind of all little passing tones. You know, kind of like I'm aiming for between F and E flat. So I'm using an approach note here, the G flat. And then, so. Alright, so those little chromatic notes that don't belong, you know, they provide a lot of tension. So let's give it a little bit of harmonic context. At the moment, I'm just playing notes off the scale. So let's see. There's my F7 chord. And there I pretty much just played every note leading from F down to the F below, you know. And they're all little passing notes leading from one place to the next note. So they provide some color and some tension. And even if I play a note that I don't intend, like, you know, earlier on I played a G natural and I didn't intend to play that note. I intended to play the A flat and I just kind of missed, quite simply, with my finger. So I then decided, okay, I missed, but that's okay. I can turn that into a C minor triad, you know, which fits in the context of an F scale. So, you know, I made it fit. Ken says, it is not a wrong note if you know what to do with it. Can't remember who said it, but something like the note is not wrong. It's the note you play next that matters. That sounds to me like something that Miles might have said, Miles Davis. And he's probably quoting or referring to things that Duke Ellington said. Duke Ellington, the great songwriter, composer, piano player, band leader of the swing period, he said, what did he say? He said, if it sounds right, then it is right. Even if, kind of like according to principles of music theory, it shouldn't be right. Music theory, as I said today, I think I posted something today on Facebook where I said, I was quoting bass player, composer, bandleader Michael League when he said that music theory is the explanation for why things work in music, and not a formula for making things work in music. And that's kind of what Duke Ellington was getting at, I think, when he said, if it sounds right, it is right. So, and I think Beethoven also had something to say on this, actually. He said, to make a mistake is not bad. To play without passion is the worst thing you can do. Make a mistake, by all means. Play a wrong note, by all means. That's okay. It's maybe going to sound wrong, but that's okay. Or it's going to sound out of place, but that's all right. But if you play with no passion and no conviction, whatever you play, whether you're playing the right notes or the wrong notes, if you don't play with any conviction, that's worse than playing a wrong note. It's inexcusable, I think is what Beethoven said. So, I think whatever notes you play for improvisation is play each note like you mean it, even if, you know, you don't. Even if you actually just unintentionally play a note that you didn't aim for. It's just that's where your finger landed. The key is playing that note, even though it might not fit and it might sound ugly, you can make it sound good, not only by the next note that you play, but you can also make it sound right by how you play it. If you play it with some conviction, then you can make that note have merit, whether it deserves it or not. I think that is certainly true, and I think some of the greatest improvisers would agree with that. You know, people like Charlie Parker or John Coltrane or Dizzy Gillespie. You know, they would probably say much the same thing. That, you know, hey, I maybe played a note I didn't intend to play, or I played something in a particular order that I didn't intend to play, but it's the fact that I played it with passion and with conviction and with commitment that makes it fit, that makes it sound good, that makes it sound right. So what you play next is as important as what you play now, and what you play now will have, you know, obviously an impact upon what you play next. So I think the key is not to overthink it. As soon as you start overthinking improvising, then you start playing things, you start playing without conviction, because you're kind of in your head, you're going, I must make sure this works, I must make sure this works, I must make sure this works. And then by the time you actually get to playing it, you're so hesitant about whether it's going to work or not that you end up playing something without any confidence. And so then it sounds rubbish because of that. Or it sounds hesitant and halting. And that's something you want to try and avoid. Is, you know, even if you're not sure what to play, start by playing something simple. Even if what you're playing is just one note. Eric Clapton, very famously, for a guitar solo for one of his songs, I forget which song it is now, but when they were playing it live, it was a blues, it was a 12-bar blues kind of thing, and he pretty much for 2 whole choruses played one note. It was the same note, just repeated over and over and over. What made that note unique and different each time that he played it was how he played it, when he played it. So it was about the authority and the conviction with which he placed each note, and the when he placed each note, when he played that one note repeatedly. And each note sounded, even though it's the same pitch, it sounded different every time you played it. Because it didn't have the same kind of weight to it each time. So it kind of almost had like each time you played that one note, it had a different character, a different personality, a different timbre, a different intent each time. And that's what made that one note solo really, really cool. And then, you know, the next guitar player would come on and play, you know, 50,000 notes at, you know, lightning speed. And Eric's solo sounded so much better. It's because the guy had the chops. The other guy had the chops and could play something phenomenally fast, but it didn't have the emotion and didn't have the conviction that what Eric played, which is one note. So improvisation can be as simple as one note, or it can be as complex as 50,000 notes. And the difference between the two can be stark. So you can create a very successful improvisation with just 1 or 2 notes, but you can create an equally effective improvisation with 50,000 notes. So really the solution to improvising isn't how many notes you play or how fast you play them or with what incredible technique you demonstrate with playing those notes. It's to do with where those notes come from. What do they come from? Your heart? Do they come from your deep within you? What are you communicating with that one note or those 50,000 notes? You can make somebody weep just with one note. You can really pull at someone's emotions with just one note if you place that note exactly right to create that effect. You can do that. Or, you know, you can do the same thing with 50,000 notes. So really it isn't about the notes, it's about how you play them. And about when you play them. So then that takes away the pressure from you about what notes you're going to play and what scale you're going to play and whether it's going to fit over the chord changes you're playing on. Which is all the technical stuff of improvisation. You know, that's kind of like the vocabulary of your improvisation. As soon as your vocabulary, your phraseology, and all of that becomes second nature because you practice it and you practice it and you practice it over and over and over again to the point where you're so fluent with those things that you can then really, really express yourself. That's the key. So improvisation, yes, is absolutely something you should practice. Absolutely, it is something you should practice and something you should develop. And you should work on, just as much as you'd work on anything else. Work on improvisation. You know, a lot of people I hear, and a lot of people I talk to, they'll say, "No, I don't practice improvising." I'm just like, well, why? Why don't you? You know, improvising is just as important as playing a through composed melody. It can have the same effect on an audience. It can be just as powerful. So practice it. It's just, you know, it's just as important. So there you go. I didn't quite expect that question to trigger quite so much. So I hope that helped. Kelly says that's profound. Thank you very much. She Studios says, you guys have a good night. And she says, feel better to me. Thank you very much. Ken says, it is not a wrong note if you know what to do with it. Can't remember who said it. Yes. Yeah, we read that. She Studios says, DD Entertainment says, I opened the email. Cool. Kelly says, I'm so glad I haven't logged off yet. Thank you. Mike says, thanks. I'll be in touch. Good night, everyone. Good night, Mike. Take care, my friend. DD Entertainment says, I have a note snout. Don't know what that is. Note snout MIDI email for October 5th. So you are going to the right box. Okay, good. All right. So you're getting my emails. That's good. Max1651 is here. Good evening to you, my friend. And he says yes on emails. Good. Kelly says, I never really thought about practicing improvisation. Well, there you go. There you go. Practicing improvisation is just as important as practicing anything else that you do with your music. You know, a lot of people think, hey, I don't need to practice improvisation because improvisation is in the moment. Well, yes, it is. But if you want what you play in the moment to sound fantastic, you need to have good, solid vocabulary, good, solid phraseology that you can draw upon, a repertoire of things that you can bring to a particular song. You know, it's like if you, you know, when you're in a French restaurant and you're with a bunch of friends of yours, and let's say this bunch of friends of yours have no idea that you are ridiculously fluent in French. They just don't know that you're really fluent in French. You can utterly blow them away by calling the waitress over and not only ordering for everybody in French, but holding a conversation with her in French as well. And so not only have you impressed your mates with your ability to speak French to the waitress, but you've impressed the waitress as well. And you've grabbed her attention. So a good improvisation can really grab somebody's attention. You can take somebody on a terrific journey, musically. My good friend Ben Castle, the woodwind specialist, tenor sax player, son of the late great Roy Castle, Ben has this uncanny ability when he improvises to take you on a journey. He takes you on it. He tells a story with his improvisation. One thing he shares in common with John Coltrane, other than he plays tenor sax phenomenally well, is that when he starts, he's hard to stop. You know, when you wind him up and he gets going and he's off, he's hard to stop. Like Train was. Train, once he got into an improvisation, would just pour music out, and you couldn't really stop him. Miles would say to him, "Take the horn out your mouth," and there's this occasion when Coltrane said to Miles when he was in Miles's band, he said, I don't know how to stop. Once I start, I don't know how to stop. And Miles just said, "John, take the horn out your mouth." So Ben Castle kind of has that as well. But here's the thing that I like about Ben's improvisations is that he starts off very simple with maybe a little 2 or 3 note figure. And then over the next 5-10 minutes of pure improvisation, he's taking you on a journey musically. And he's also demonstrated the entire range and register of the tenor saxophone. And he's also demonstrated a bunch of highly advanced techniques that he's capable of playing. And so good improvisation, to be a good improviser, requires practice. And it's something that a lot of people neglect to do. So it's well worth getting into. If you have something like Band in a Box, that is a fantastic thing to have. Martin Weeks, if you've come across him on Jonny's live streams or in the Home Studio Trainer support group, you may well have come across him there. He is quite the advocate for Band in a Box. Band in a Box, I actually find really useful for practicing with, because I can just type in my chord changes, and it's like having a rhythm section, and you just say, right, I want to play rhythm changes in A flat. You set the tempo, you type in the changes, off it goes. And you could have it as a bossa nova, you could have it as a samba, you could have it as a mambo, you could have it as a salsa, a cha-cha, or country, or you could have it as rock or bluegrass. But you can also have it as bebop or fusion or funk. Any of those, hundreds and hundreds of styles, and you just set your rhythm section off and off you go. And then I can just improvise on those chord changes. And then I can just, every 5 minutes I'll take it up a semitone. And that gets me playing in scales that I don't use very much, like B, for example, or D flat, or something like that. And that's a good way to practice improvising. So I'm using the same phraseology, and I'm transposing it through all the keys. Band in a Box is great for that. It's reasonably well priced. I don't think it's very expensive to get. The version that I have of Band in a Box is very old. It's a good few years old now. If you get the latest version, it's much, much better than what I have. But it's a good tool for practicing. And it's great for practicing and improvising. So I do recommend that, actually, that maybe you look into getting that. Dooley still is here. He says, Keith Jarrett comes to mind. Passion comes first. Whatever comes out is what you get. Yes, absolutely. Playing without passion is criminal. Couldn't agree more. Ken has just mentioned Band in a Box. He says, do you recommend anything like Band in a Box or something similar to help with practicing improv over chord changes? Yes, absolutely. Band in a Box. Go get it. It is an invaluable tool for practice. I could not more highly recommend it. Roger Blevin says good night, and he says hope you feel better soon. And with that, yes, I have managed somehow to make it through until about 1 o'clock. But as I say, we started a little bit late. We were about 10-12 minutes late getting started. And I was thinking I would try and make it to 7:15 Central Time for finishing the show, but you know what? I'm struggling, guys. I'm really sorry. Kelly says it's $99 at Sweetwater. Oh, that's a very good price for it. If you're interested in going to get Band in a Box, go get it from Sweetwater. That's what I would recommend. I think that's probably the best price I've seen it for. Yeah, go get it. Kelly says, you rock, get some deep rest. Yes, I think I'm probably going to do that. And next week's show will be an extended show. We will start at 6 and we'll go through to 7:30. That's the plan for next Sunday. And yeah, I'll have a bit more of a clearly defined topic for next Sunday, and I'll send out an email letting you know what that's all going to be. So until then, thank you very much, everybody, for coming to watch the show tonight. Don't forget Songwriting Simplified on Wednesday over on Jonny's YouTube channel. That's going to be great. I love doing those shows with him. They're great fun. Other than that, Jonny's live streams start up again tomorrow. Go check them out. He has a week packed with fantastic information. His live streams are really, really cool. They are. I don't know how he does it. I'll be honest, guys. I don't know how he manages to do a live stream every single night. I don't think I could do it. But he does it really well, and he's incredibly good at it. So what I'm going to say, folks, is go check that out on Monday. Go check out his show on Monday. And Songwriting Simplified on Wednesday. And watch out for videos coming this week on... I think the one that's coming out this week on Tuesday is How I Mix Bass. And then the next few are about mixing particular instruments and that kind of stuff. So how I do guitars, if I have a whole section of guitars, like 4 or 5 different guitars. So I'm gonna show you how I do that. Yeah, and then there's one coming out on sidechaining a gate. If you want to create a real pumping effect for something more kind of EDM dance orientated, and you want the bass to really have that pulsing kind of thing going on, I can show you how to do that as well. So yeah, there's about 5-6 videos coming out, and the aim is to have them out on Tuesdays. So yeah, keep an eye out of those. My kids are off school this week, so content will be a little bit kind of thin on the ground other than that, but I'll be in and around the HST support group and the Persona Studio One group as well. So I'll be there. So if you guys have got any questions or any suggestions for a topic for Sunday night live shows, then please feel free to email me at johnny@johnnylipshamstudios.co.uk. Drop me a line, and if you've got a show request for a topic for a show, then just put the subject as show suggestion, and I will see what what recommendations you guys come up with, and I'll make sure I try and feature the things that you want to see. All right, folks. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.